Coach Cafferata here with Coach Swartz and Coach Gould. And today we want to talk with you all about why we encourage failure and how much is too much. So I'm going to kick it over to Coach Swartz and let him know a little bit about how we do this.
Yeah. So just before we even talk about too much of it, like on a real base level, we gain a lot more out of failure than we do success a lot of the time. Sure, when you have success, it can build up your self-esteem and everyone wants to win or everyone wants to do well. But that is really only under the context of difficult competition. And so, failure teaches us certain things. Failure teaches us where the line is. And so that can be, I threw a behind the back pass when I didn't need to. And what did I learn? Well, I learned maybe it was unnecessary, or maybe I learned I need to practice that more before I start trying to do it. And failure really being a guide and a teacher, rather than something that frustrates or disappoints. And a lot of that really just comes from the feedback that you give your players or lack of feedback. And a lot of what we talk about is when we get into our games, whether it's small-sided, 6-on-6, whatever, is like coach less. Like stop every single time a kid does something correcting them. They know at a certain age, they know their teammates will tell them. Like when they're done playing, they'll remember the play. You can go back and give it to them. But what we find when we encourage failure is we get a lot more success. And so an example of that is with shooting, right? If kids are really nervous about shooting, then they'll be less likely to put themselves in a position to shoot. Fewer shots, fewer goals, you don't win, right? So I want a kid to feel like every shot besides a clean high-to-high save is a good shot. If they miss, it's fine. If it goes in, it's great. If it's a rebound, it's wonderful. And not yelling at a kid that he missed from 9 yards and just being glad that we backed it up, right? And sometimes it's about reframing things, but really it's a lot about failure. And before I kick it over, just kind of to bring it in on my area, to touch on how much is too much failure. At younger levels, this is a harder thing to determine. There's things that we can do to help the kids where if we're working on a concept and it doesn't work, give them a dodgeball because maybe they're dropping it too much. But in general, we time our practices in a way where, we've got 8 minutes to deal with something. And if we fail all the way through, well, we have a natural ending time for it where we can stop, move on to something else. And then we have to evaluate our failure. Did we put them in a bad position? Did we expect too much out of them? Was it just a bad practice because it was after spring break and we didn't pick our sticks up?
Did we skip a step?
Yeah. Did we skip a step? Did we not do a proper buildup of a concept? It's a great point. And so failure is cool as long as we're all happy to talk about it after in a cool way, address it, and get better. What do you think, guys?
I really like the way of tying it back to the way we operate on a daily practice. 10-minute session. And we'll hear this from coaches like, well, we can't get that done in 10 minutes because we won't get it right. Well, that's fine. Fail at it. Move on. Another really great point that you made is, well, the catching and throwing wasn't happening. We couldn't catch the ball today. And at the high school level, it's a little bit different, but at the youth level, get some of those mini soccer balls. Bring a football out. We're in Texas. These kids can catch and throw a football from any age. You want to run your offense? Run it with a football. These kids can do it. It's about learning while failing. Can
you imagine you can't catch and throw, but you want to play lacrosse, and instead of them letting you play, the coaches are just like, well, I guess we're going to do passing and catching for 90 straight minutes. Like
do the thing you can't do.
Yeah.
And that's not fun. That's not fun.
Not fun.
But yeah, I don't know, Cody. What do you think? What have we?
Yeah, I think David made a great point with everything but high shots are good. Shooting high to high is something I gravitate to just because of what my expertise is, all that sorts of stuff. What we want to be doing is failing at something that's going to eventually put us in a position to succeed. Say if someone does a behind the back pass, what was the intention behind it? How did it look? Was it in the right spot? Was it just a little bit off? What was the execution? What was the thought process? That's the way I personally think of everything. If the thought process was there and if it was just bad execution, then that's just going to take repetition. And that's something that these players need to do on their own time, because that failing at that is going to be the way that they get reps, and the way that they get reps is the way that they get better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think sort of just to lead us out on the idea, it has to be a teacher. Failure has to be our teacher. And the worst thing you can do as a coach is speak in absolutes about what a player is allowed to or not allowed to do. When I hear coaches say no one-handed ground balls, I want to pull my hair out. First off, sticks weigh nothing nowadays. Okay. There's a whole lot of different reasons. The other thing is, like, sometimes the ball is too far away. Like you have to do it to get it, and no behind the back. So it's like, sometimes that's how you get your stick on the inside. And so I think a really great example I'd love to share about this that happened recently is at a tournament. We had a player throw a behind the back pass, went directly out of bounds. When they came off, Caff went over to talk to him. The kid got a little BCD, a little defensive, right? I make that pass. I practice this all the time, like whatever. Caff's like, look, I'm not telling you can't do this, but you have to do it better. And so you practice it. Do you practice that specific skill, or do you just practice it off of the bounce back? And he goes, well, off the bounce back. And he said, well, you have to get out there with that guy, and you have to practice that specific situation if you want to do it. And his reaction was so good, because it's like, first off, this was a chance to stifle him. And instead of doing that, it was empowering him and saying, the keys are yours, but you can't just crash the car. Like you have to learn how to drive. Like you can't just jump in the car and just go 100. Like you've got to learn how to do things. And so
I want to build on that to what external eyes have seen. And we have invited some coaches to practice last year, and it was a regular practice, and we were practicing. And one of the questions was, and it was, why are these guys throwing somebody behind the backs? Like, you just do a bounce pass. What is that? Why are you allow this? Like, yeah, because sometimes it's the right play. And if we don't practice it, and again, a couple of those,
we want all the tools in our toolkit.
Want to have all of them. And some of those BTBs were bad. They threw them away. But like, if you're going to throw away a lot of BTBs before you hit one, we practice them. We do it a lot. And that goes back to having fun. These guys are having fun doing it, and sometimes it's fun. You probably saw our double BTB goal last year, got a lot of views. That was cool, but those guys don't just throw that in a game. We've done that in practice 100 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think just, sort of to cap it off, the most important thing is that there's an end time to any drill, and that you're willing to look at the failure as your own as a coach. And that's really important. Not, we have to keep doing this till they get it. It might not be possible because of your own fault. Because the
failure is the progress.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the progress. That's the loop. That was the training loop. We learned from that.
And we'll talk more about practice planning and diminished returns and that kind of stuff. But just in general, I think this was really great, guys. And I know that it's really hard for coaches and parents and players to kind of wrap their head around the idea of failure being a good thing. But under the right circumstances, with the right culture and the right accountability, it's the way that we learn. You touch the hot stove, you remember, and that's really important. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Bill Cafferata, Dripping Springs Lacrosse Program Director and Varsity Head Coach. Thanks for tuning in. Please comment and give any questions about the video or have suggestions for future content. Most importantly, be sure to like and subscribe.